I know they're saying all the right things, and I think they mean it. You know, KD's been our best player. We won this for KD. We want to extend this till he gets back. And I think they mean it, and it makes sense. It's the right thing to say. But the message they sent was, with or without KD, we are the team to beat. Period. The end. I never ripped. I was one of the few media guys that didn't rip Kevin Durant when he went to Golden State. But I did always feel like we as fans have been robbed of Steph Curry. What he did, forget his first MVP year, which was great enough. That second MVP year before KD went there.
Pulling up from 40 in overtime against Kevin Durant's Thunder.
Right.
Just casually. Buckets.
It was incredible. Tim Legler, who I greatly respect, we worked with him at the old network, greatly respect his basketball knowledge. I think this is an overstatement, but he said at that time he could end up being one of the 3 best players ever. Again, an overstatement to me, but that just shows you what he was doing, and we haven't seen it except in spurts here or there since Kevin Durant's been there. They went back to the old Warriors, and the other thing is this. Everybody talks about their lack of depth, that they were strength in numbers when they won it before, which they had some depth. But look at the guys they were counting on the bench. Leandro Barbosa, who was old at that point. Brandon Rush, Festus Ezeli, Mo Spates, Patrick McCaw later, but have any of those guys done anything since they left Golden State? Not even Mo Spates has done anything. And that's why they started Bogut. Jordan Bell was fine. Kevin Looney, we know, is pretty good. Jerebko, Quinn Cook. They're like San Antonio when you had Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker. Pieces around them can play well in that system where they can't do it elsewhere. That's what they have in Golden State. Quinn Cook's not going to be anything special anywhere else, but put him in there, and he can give you some solid minutes. So I think Golden State is rolling.
And I believe that they're rolling, too, because the guy that never gets any credit is the coach and Steve Kerr. And I'll take just a little bit further than what you took it as far as Golden State. Yeah, they said everything. Steph and them, because of the way KD played, starting when he said, I'm KD, I'm Kevin Durant, after game number 2, he carried them. Steph was not playing the kind of basketball. Clay was not. Now, Draymond has come around. Him and Iggy have been sensational in the playoffs. But when Steve Kerr comes into the locker room after that great 14 minutes and they secure game number 5, he tells everyone, if you're suited up tomorrow, be ready to play. We're 12 deep, there's strength in numbers, and we're going at it. So when they leave the arena, there's a great relief that Kevin Durant didn't tear his Achilles, because no one wants anyone to tear their Achilles. But from a confidence standpoint, it started after game number 5. We're going to be all right. Everyone's going to play tomorrow, and in the first half of that game, the first 24 minutes, I believe Steve Kerr made the difference. In the first half, tied at 57-57, he played 11 players, more than 3 minutes, and Steph Curry had 0 points. And going into halftime, they had to be feeling very, very good. So hats off to Steve Kerr, I believe one of the most underrated coaches that we're going to see, especially coaching great teams.
5 guys on the Warriors who have been there for all the titles. And all 5 guys, in their own way, were spectacular on Friday night. Sean Livingston, he scored in double digits once in 2019. He go ahead and gave you 4 for 6 double-digit game. Iggy only broke 15 points 3 times in the regular season. This was his 5th time doing it these playoffs and hit 5 threes. The Rockets were giving him the threes. He said, okay, I'll take him en route to 17 points. Draymond doing all these Draymond things, it would be great defensively, keeping everyone's energy up, giving them almost the attitude that we are the favorites. Forget these guys. Clay, once again, just as good of a big game, non-super-duper star as I've ever seen. So many times he has saved them, because if he didn't have the first half he had, it wouldn't have set Steph up. And Steph is last, but obviously not least, which is this was a legacy game for Steph Curry. You might say a guy that's won 3 titles, so 2 MVPs, yes, the team that was closest to beating you, James Harden, who was finished higher than you in the MVP voting, 3 of the last 4 years. You went into his building, had as bad of a first half as you can have. In the second half said, don't matter. 23 in the fourth quarter, 33 in the second half. And by the way, you know one of the reasons the Warriors never blow leads? Can't foul that guy late because he ain't going to miss him. He was spectacular after having a terrible first half, just like in Game 5. He was really bad until KD went down. And then it's like that special Splash Brothers activation happened, and he was spectacular the rest of the way.
But you have to wonder, and we'll talk a lot about this week, if the Blazers now look at the Warriors as a team that has sort of come out of their shell and now they're going to be playing like this, or one who has leveled the playing field now because Boogie's out and KD's out with the calf and Steph still has the dislocated finger. Do you think they look at it more of an opportunity for them, or are they maybe a little intimidated by the team they just saw beat the Rockets?
Portland is definitely thinking they can win this series. Like Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum are looking at it like, this is our chance. It's us versus Steph and Clay. Yes. That's how they're looking at it.
After being swept the last 2 years,
Lillard,
they got a lot of confidence.
Yes, they've played them fairly. You know, they, like you said, they haven't won, but those two guards they're gonna make Steph and Clay work hard.
All right, Broussard, let me ask you: is Tillman Furtado right? The Rockets are going to win titles with James Harden?
Well, I think he's wrong about Michael Jordan. Wasn't Jordan 28?
Yeah, Jordan was not 30 when he won his first title.
Yeah, look,
he won a title at 30. But he wasn't 30
it was his second or third one. Will they win a title with James Harden? If I had to bet my life on it, I would say no. But I don't look at it as a flaw in James.
But I guess.
Yeah, right. Or gun to my head, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a flaw in James Harden. Like, look, we know his struggles in the past in big games. You can go back to San Antonio, Game 6, shoots 11 times, scores, 10, 11 points, whatever it was, the 12 turnovers against Golden State and all that. This was not that. He showed up in Game 6, 35 points. He showed up throughout the series. Once he was raked across the eyes, he played well. 35 points a game, 46% shooting from the floor. Harden played well. The Rockets' problem is, first of all, they're strapped as far as finances. So what changes can they make? Chris Paul, at his age, the decline in his game, I don't think they're going to be able to trade him. He's got 3 years, $120 million plus left on his deal. And I don't even know if they want to move him just because of the deals they've made with him. They shouldn't have gave him that contract last summer, but they felt like they kind of had to. So what they need is a front court star, okay? If you look at the history of this league, from my 25 years of covering the league, even before as a fan, very few teams, if any, win championships without a front court star. Now, I thought in the three-point era, that might be different because guards have become so prominent and all that. You look at Golden State, you say, well, okay, even before KD, they won a championship. However, Draymond is viewed as a star, and in the last 3 games of the year they won it in 2015, Draymond averaged 16 points a game. Iguodala averaged 20 points a game. That's why he won the MVP in part. So you need a front court player that can make some plays. It can't just all be guard. So if their front office can go out and make these moves, I think maybe that's part of what led them to go sign Carmelo Anthony. But if they need to somehow get a forward or center who can legitimately give them 18, 20 points a game on his own, not Clint Capella catching stuff at the rim, but a guy that can create, that they can run a high pick and roll.
Or a guy that can create for someone else to get a bucket.
Like Ray run a high pick and roll with Capella, he can only roll to the rim. If you run it with a front court player who can do something on his own,
that's the advantage Draymond has playing with the Warriors. Great point.
Listen, I think I've been as big of a public proponent of this team as anybody on television. I think they have the best GM in sports. I think Harden's been unfairly maligned throughout his career. They're never going to beat the Golden State Warriors. I do think they can win a championship because Harden's young enough and great enough and has shown a big enough commitment to his body, to getting better, to coming back each year and adding a new part to his game. But they are going to need the Golden State Warriors to age out of this region.
Even if Durant leaves.
They are going to need Golden State, someone else to knock off Golden State in the playoffs. If it's still the Warriors together as this unit. They were up 15 in Game 6 last year on the road, up 3-2 in the series, and they lost. They were up 15 in Game 7 last year at home. tied series 3-3, and they lost. They had a golden opportunity where the Warriors should have been the stunned team in Game 5 this year. Tie game, Kevin Durant goes out, and they lost. They had a home game where they're 7.5-point Vegas favorites. Almost all of our discussion Friday was about Game 7 because, of course, the Rockets can protect home court on a Warriors team that has 6 guys you even semi-trust. Steph goes scoreless in the first half, and they lost, despite Harden going 35, 8, and 5, to your point, scoring 12 in the fourth quarter. He didn't fall apart.
And a big game from Cris Paul, who we had.
Great game.
Chris Paul played the best game he's played this whole postseason, and they lost. I said last week, maybe they would be the Bulls to the Warriors Pistons. Not going on a Bulls-like run, but takes them a few years, and they finally break through. Maybe they'd be the Jazz to the Warriors, Rockets, and Sonics, and beat them up in the playoffs year after year. They finally break through. They're the Kings to the Warriors, Lakers.
Or the Suns.
Right.
Phoenix, Steve Nash Suns.
Well, this is what I'm concerned about, because I believe that you can win a championship with James Harden. All right? I believe that he is clutch. I believe he has the durability. I believe he's made the adjustments. I believe he's not that big of a liability on the defensive end. I believe the owner. The owner's saying the right things. He's been aggressive. He's spending his money. He wants to win a championship. And I believe they have one of the best general managers in Daryl Morey. I respect how he goes about getting other players and everything. But couple liabilities here. Number one being their restriction as far as the number of dollars that they're going to have available over the next several years based on their commitments they've already made. And number two, you got a question. Will that coach ever win? Because he never won nowhere else. They got real close other places. Mike D'Antoni, will this system work? In this era in the NBA, where it's about three-point shooting, it's about freedom of movement, it's about the analytics, if he can't win a championship now, when he ever going to win a championship? It didn't work when he coached with the Lakers. Didn't work when he coached with the Suns. Where has this system? That's what someone's going to have to prove to me. So it probably take another player, a front court player, team with James Harden, and in the Western Conference now where Denver, they average 25.
Right.
25. They're the fourth youngest team in the NBA. Like, there's a lot of things they're going to have to overcome. I don't think they can overcome the system Mike D'Antoni runs.
I'm glad you brought up D'Antoni because the question is, can Harden win a championship? Can D'Antoni win a championship? Look, I'm in the minority, I believe, when I say I think Mike D'Antoni is a Hall of Fame coach.
Wow.
I think his impact on the game in Phoenix and the success he had in Phoenix and here in Houston. But I think he's the Don Nelson. Don Nelson never won a championship, was kind of viewed as a gimmick coach, players coach, won a lot of games, never won a championship. But I think D'Antoni has two major weaknesses. One, a lack of attention to detail. And two, he's non-confrontational. When you are in the playoffs and the difference between the clubs is those two things come back to haunt you. Think of his series in Phoenix with San Antonio. Those were close, hard-fought series, but it was always his team that missed the assignment, his team that made the bad turnover, his team that guys got off the bench. San Antonio's player didn't get off the bench. That's attention to detail. And when you're non-confrontational, you also don't say what needs to be said in the heat of the moment or even in practice, and those things come back to haunt you in series
And
like
I thought
this.
in the first half of the game number 6, he was out-coached by Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr played 11 players, had the score tied at 57-57. Most important stat, Steph Curry hadn't scored.
Right.
So he had totally been out-coached by using those 11 bodies and with no production from Steph. That, I thought, was a huge difference leading into the second half.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.